Welcome, beloved hearts, into the loving embrace of the divine. I would like to invite you to bring your awareness to your heart, where we can truly connect as one. I am Katrina Armstrong, and I stand before you today as a testament to the power of the divine. I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth, all of which has birthed the alchemical movement that is Divinity in Action, that I am ecstatic to share with you here. Allow us to guide you through the wisdom of our esteemed leaders and uncover the secrets of the universe to unlock your true potential, as I had done in my life when I embraced the Christ consciousness and ascended into higher expressions of my soul potential. I'll share with you the teachings and wisdom that have helped me to transcend from my earthly bounds and realize the true expression of my soul. I'll be joined by some of the most compassionate and authentic spiritual leaders worldwide who also experience divinity in action. Allow us to share our insights and experiences. I invite you to join me on this journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. Together we'll break free from past programming and conditioning and fully embrace our true selves. Join me in welcoming Jeralyn Glass. Jeralyn is a leader in the field of sound healing using alchemy crystal singing bowls. She is an internationally known singer whose career began on Broadway and took her to the opera and concert stages of the world. She is a professor of voice, a sound healing practitioner, and crystal singing bowl master alchemist. Jeralyn has a unique presence with her personal alchemy of classical music, meditation, and high vibrational sound. In 2015, Jeralyn's life changed completely when she lost her only child. In the process of transmuting her grief, she committed to sharing music and crystal alchemy meditation as powerful tools of self-discovery and healing. Jeralyn founded Crystal Cadence, home of the Los Angeles Crystal Tone Singing Bowl Temple, with one of the largest selections of crystalline instruments in the world. She is a popular teacher with the Shift Network and has been honored to be among the 36 experts in the Shift Network Sound Healing Summit for the past few years. Her courses on the Shift Network continue to uplift lives around the world. Jeralyn was a keynote speaker at the National Conference of the Compassionate Friends and has performed her high vibrational music alongside new thought leaders such as Marianne Williamson, Dr. Sue Morter, John Gray, Marcy Shimoff, Greg Braden, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Lynn McTaggart, Anita Morgan, the late Barbara Max Herbert, and Lee Harris. Her popular series, an educational platform, The Sacred Science of Sound, features conversations, presentations, and performances with leading-edge information on vibrational medicine, bioenergetics, crystalline sound, and the healing power of music. Jeralyn became a Hay House author in 2023, creating the first of its kind interactive crystal sound healing oracle deck, and also a book that released in late fall 2023. Jeralyn has offered a beautiful gift. It is a crystalline alchemy meditation for grounding and embodiment that you can find just below. Wow, what a beautiful opportunity we have to be here with you, Jeralyn.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm just really feeling so much crystalline energy coming in as I tune in and work with the earth and, with the gateways, with all of the changes that are happening right now. This crystalline energy, this opportunity for what I see to return back to our true essence, how this allows us this opening, this opportunity to expand. So as we journey here today into crystalline sound, sound as the medicine of now. I feel this is so incredibly timed for coming together in this moment. There's so much change, transformation happening, and I look forward to hearing from you how the crystalline sound invites us to be fully present, to be in this now, and all of the other benefits that it has as well. So opening the space to you to share with us why crystalline sound is the medicine of now.
That is the question. I think because, in essence, our bodies are crystalline in structure. So our blood has a crystalline nature to it, our bones has a crystalline nature to it. And that makes the sound of the pure quartz that is infused with gemstones, precious gemstones like ruby or amethyst, minerals of the earth like vanadium, earth substances like charcoal or frankincense, and precious metals like gold and silver and platinum. Those get amplified. And if we think for a moment about quartz being the perfect amplifier, receiver, transmitter, and our bodies have that nature to them in being quartz-like in structure. So the sound is received very easily. And there's so much to say about it. It affects everyone, from a baby, a child, a teenager, young people, seniors, any kind of professional life. Sound of the crystal bowls is, for me, being a musician my entire life, my entire professional life. This sound from the crystalline bowls is music. And music is something we all understand. Music is something that when you hear those sounds, they are pristine in nature. And suddenly the mind focuses on, whoa, so beautiful. It's music. And suddenly in that moment, the mind is very still. It's focused on the beauty, the exquisiteness of the sound. And in that moment, we have the ability to drop deeper inside ourselves. And I've seen it time and time again, whether it's someone that's skeptical and just hears the bowls for the first time and tears well up in their eyes and they're like, what happened? Or I think about an IBM executive that just said, what kind of voodoo did you do? He said, my mind was completely still, but I wasn't sleeping. Right. So it's, in essence, I would say, especially the way I'm playing and working with the bowls, being such a, in music all my life, that it's music. And music is something that every one of us, no matter what our language, our culture, our upbringing, we all understand rhythm and harmony. We all understand music.
Wow. When you were speaking about how this impacted this individual, I was really feeling this going into the body, and it feels as if there's a healing quality to it, that it offers something to our cells, something to the body that, with it, as seeing it as music, it's almost like we don't even realize in some way that it's healing us. So I would love to hear more about how the crystal sounds heal the body.
It's so individual for everyone. There's not ever, I say, one size fits all. And just depending upon what's happening within each of us. So for me personally, when I first heard the crystal bowls, I was living and experiencing a full career in Europe. I was singing opera on many of the international stages, and I just loved the sounds. So I brought 7 of them home with me. I was living in Germany at the time, and I brought 7 of them home, one that was attuned to each of the chakras in the tuning of music today, which is 440 hertz. And I just started playing them. I played them for my son who was young at the time. I played them for my students. And what I watched happen was every student would choose a different bowl, or sometimes they would choose the same bowl, and that would have a unique effect on them. So I would experience some students saying, my low back pain disappeared. Like, what's that about? Or some would say, I remember one saying, there was like a bitterness that I wasn't even conscious of inside me, and that bitterness melted. Another, I'm a professor of voice also, we were working with her voice, and there was an area of her voice that was blocked, and she chose one of the bowls, and I had her tone with it. So I had her entrain or match her sound to the sound of the bowl, and suddenly her voice opened.
Whoa.
So it's really, it's a kind of medicine that our body takes from it, in my experience, what it needs at the moment. And there's been times where I've been working with particular bowls, and some days they sound super sweet. And when I was in the throes of really working, I lost my son almost 8 years ago now. And when I was processing my own grief, there was a time period where one of the bowls, which is selenite, and selenite is about grounded white light. It's a very powerful, purifying, clarifying stone, and it started sounding like nails on a chalkboard. And I couldn't believe that the beautiful bowl sounded just like It was just horrible until as I kept exploring and as I've been in the process now for some years, the bowl I recognized was reflecting my grief. It was reflecting me, the things that, so much of what goes on inside us, we can't put into words. And I'll always say that music takes us into the areas of the sublime. Music takes us into a place that there are no words for that. It's the ineffable, right? And so music takes us in the place where we don't need words to express, but we can go in and feel what's being activated in the body. And then the quartz and the alchemies, it's doing its thing. What shall I say to you? I recognized in that moment for me, later I recognized that the sound was reflecting the grief that I couldn't express, right? And as the grief began to clear for me and I was able to keen and cry and express in a way that I could not express in talk therapy, the sound of the bowl changed. So once again, if we go back to quartz being an amplifier, receiver, transmitter, it's a very powerful instrument when it entrains or aligns with us and we're able to breathe and feel things that we, for me in that point, I deemed certain expressions of grief, they were inexpressible. It was not possible to go in there and feel how intense that was, but suddenly sound holds us. And especially the way I'm playing and how I work with the bowls, I work with sacred geometry, so sacred intervals in the structure of music. And when we work like that, it creates a safe container so that you feel, I can go in and I can breathe and I can feel. And it happens really on its own. And I'll say that healing, transformation happens like a byproduct. It's not, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do this and it's going to heal this. You're allowing yourself to open and breathe and feel places and things inside you that perhaps were deeply buried that you might not have thought were even possible to feel. And suddenly the sound is going, let me just hold you, let me embrace you. And the sound is so loving. Music is love. It is that for me. It always has been that. And as the sound comes and gently embraces us, stuff starts to dissipate. It starts to release and healing happens as a byproduct.
Wow. I love the way that you're describing sound and working with these geometries and working in that space. I work with resonance. So being able to just speak into structures of the body. And my experience with that is these crystalline structures and how when they're in a certain resonance, certain frequency, how they can open up, with those geometries, with that space. And I love the way you describe sound and how it holds you, how it's like a little kiss to allow you to bring that forward. And I get this picture when you speak of sound kind of holding that structure for you as you're allowing for the disharmony or anything that's discordant and a lot of it we're not even aware of, as you were describing. So this feeling that I'm getting from what you're saying, and I would love for all of those listening just to take a moment, just your words alone. I can tell that's one that you work so deeply with the voice because just you speaking to me, my whole body is lighting up. I'm in that space with you. So I love this. I love the feeling of it. And to imagine just how perfect, I get the sense of sound inviting us into our perfection is what I am getting from what you're saying. It's almost like, hey, come back here. It's kind of the invitation that I keep hearing. And I know perhaps the geometries you're speaking about is going into like the bioenergetics that you're working with. Is that correct? Can you share a little bit about how that plays into the sound healing or the sound?
I'm just thinking about like when I first started when I was sitting in my own grief and I knew if I didn't do something outside of myself, I would probably never get out of my bed. So I volunteered to work with cancer patients at the Cancer Support Community, which is a nationwide organization that offers alternative forms of wellness to cancer patients and their families. So I started leading the Crystal Alchemy Singing Bowl meditations, and I had never led meditations before. And what transpired there was whatever each person really needed in their journey, whether it was just a deep sense of calm, a calm to the anxiety they were feeling, whether it was a physical feeling in their body. I mean, there was so much that happened over the 7 years that I was working with the cancer patients, and we've just begun again now since COVID live in person, so it's great, was that in the end, it was apparent that what was holding us all together, and as you asked about bioenergetics, and Dr. Sue Martyr has been my mentor, I've learned so much from her and the energy codes, is that structure of the music, the structure of the sacredness, the understanding of this toric field flow of energy, that we are energy, that everything is energy, sound vibration is energy, light, and we're made of that. And what would happen with the cancer patients was at the end, no matter what notes I was using, no matter what tunings I was using, no matter what alchemies I was using, the group would come together in a coherent, like a symphony. And that symphony, that cohesiveness was held together by the vibrational frequency of love. And, no matter what we say on the science side of everything, in the end, miracles happen. And those miracles are coming through, for me, vibration, light, intention, and love is what shapes everything that I'm doing with sound. Whether I say I'm going to take the interval of a perfect fifth, which comes from the Pythagorean theories, whether I'm going to take that particular interval, I'm going to structure my sound bath with that. The whole point is, how do we create a trust? How do we create a safety so that each of us as individuals can just drop in and breathe and feel the things that we need to breathe and feel? And for many of us, as I said earlier, there's so much that's been stuffed down in the subconscious, just stuffed down because it's been too big. And as children, perhaps the energy did a go around in our energetic system because there was abuse, there was trauma, there was physical illness, whatever happened to each of us. We all have our stories. And what I love so much about sound, especially the crystalline sound, is that it goes beyond any story I have. It goes beyond any identity that I have made myself to be. And suddenly it's like, wow, that doesn't trigger me anymore. Or wow, that doesn't upset me anymore. Or watching the cancer patients, like, wow, the fear is gone. There's a trust that there's a bigger picture and that I can heal this cancer and I can make myself feel grounded and feel more love inside myself. And again, it's so individual. There will never be a one-size-fits-all. There will never be, okay, take a citrine bowl, G note at the throat chakra, and that's going to heal all your ailments. I'm laughing because one of my dear friends and colleagues that we've been working together with the Sacred Science of Sound is Dr. Daniel J. Levitin, who is a neuroscientist, just brilliant. And he teases and says, hey, take 2 Joni Mitchells and call me in the morning. So it's not like there's a particular, frequency or alchemy or note or that we can say, bingo, that's it for you. But like when I'm working with people and we're choosing their bowl sets, or we're choosing, if I'm doing a private session with someone and we're choosing what set we're going to use for them, it's definitely clear to me what resonates with somebody. And yet, again, we're going into that place of the quantum where we have to trust where so much of it, and it's not woo-woo. I don't mean it like that, because coming from my background in music, it's not that. But there is so much about music that it takes us in that place that there are no words to describe. And as what I said at the very beginning, it stills the mind. The mind is suddenly focused, and then you drop into the deeper wisdom, the brain of your gut, the brain of your heart, and this brain is not the one that's running the show. And I think that's one of the really important things about working with the crystalline frequencies, is that my gut wisdom gets activated, my inner vision gets activated, my heart wisdom gets activated, and my stories are not running my system, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. And when you say woo-woo, and I think of a sacred science and my own work with resonance and working into the quantum realms and what naturally just comes in. And it's my experience as well that is so unique to each person. It's not the same language that comes through me or the same tones or any of these pieces. It's very unique because every body, every structure, every crystalline structure that is the individual as well is so unique. So I love when you were describing the crystal bowl and how it started to sound the way that it did when grief was present, and just to see how it reflects that back, which for me, it really speaks into the power that we have as crystalline beings too, returning back into this transmitter, this opportunity we have to be in resonance with each other, beyond the stories, right? Beyond the identities, but to be in that place where there is a symphony. And I know I've touched that and I've witnessed it, in groups of people that can hold that level of what I call harmonic. And it is so interesting to see this with the bowls and to feel how they reflect back and how we reflect to them, right? Even with them being bowls. So there's something really special in that when we look at quartz, we look at crystals. And I spent most of my life in Arkansas, which is a massive bed of crystals. So, so a continuous, connection into that crystalline energy and that journey of, how interconnected everything is. So I'm really appreciating this journey with seeing this as a sacred science, seeing this as, it's easy to say it's woo-woo, but when you're witnessing the effects of it or the way that things are engaging with each other, it's like, oh, you can't deny that, right?
I have seen way too much now, and in my own life, the fact that I never thought I could ever feel any sense of joy or happiness again after my son died. And I look at my face, and the first time I started using the bowls, he guided to use the bowls, and I remember just keening, and I had been in grief therapy 6 hours a week, and it was helping in some way, but it wasn't getting to the fact that something had happened that I couldn't change, that I was truly powerless to change the fact that my son was now in another dimension, but I could change the fact of how I felt about all of it. And I wasn't managing that with the talk therapy. But as I started to work with the sound and allowed it to touch those places of just incredible, intense grief and loss, and however you want to try to put that into words, and then I'll never forget the first time of going to wash my face, and there was light in my eyes after I'd played the bowls for about an hour, and I was like, okay, this is serious, Jeralyn, you're onto something. This is a way to work with the energies of self-healing. That sound, it's trusting the impeccability and the integrity of sound and the crystalline structure to really go in and touch the places that we can't reach with our thinking mind because it's too terrifying. Right? And all of us have these places inside us, whether it's simply just a deep fear of the darkness or the unknown or whatever it is. But as you allow sound to be that balm, everything changes. My life has changed completely. And certainly there were moments in my life where I was singing all over the world and had my little boy and was happy and doing my kids' foundation and all the things that I've done that have brought me so much joy in my life. But when life gives you something that just, whether it's a diagnosis or whatever it is, the loss of a loved one, sometimes we just don't know what to do. And we can't give up. That's for sure. And we have to have the ability to feel what is happening and have it be safe so that we can process it and it can integrate. It can be the thing that helps us to ground, helps us to find a truer power of the truth of who we are. The bigger picture, like I'll always tease and say, I began to understand that in the higher frequencies and in the higher realms that there was a bigger soul purpose story and that my son and myself, that we had a soul contract. But I'll still to this day just tease him and say, no, I don't remember signing that soul contract with you. And when I see you again, we're going to have a talk about it. And, I can feel him through vibration. I can feel him laughing, but it's like there is a bigger picture for each of us. And it's recognizing we're never going to be a victim. We have to change our viewpoint of what's happening in our lives. And for me, sound has been a thing. I was a high soprano, so I would live up in some of those high places. And as I'm working now with sound and frequency and alchemy, and I'm using these higher notes, that's opening up the chakras above the head and out of the body where we can feel, okay, some people name it the North Star, or we're working with chakra 8 and chakra 9, your life purpose.
Yeah, the 8th and 9th chakra. I know the 9th as the soul chakra, the soul star. And
right.
One of my gifts is being able to work in that chakra and helping people make that connection and opening it up. So when you speak that, it just takes me right into that and what's there for us. And you were saying that working with the bowls, how you're able to open that up and be able to access these higher parts of ourselves. And I agree. It's pretty miraculous to see these pieces coming in. And in my experience, I find it a great connection with those things that do arise, those things that are stored so deeply and what we have access to in these higher levels. That's part of my journey, is that looking into the different polarities of that and how they connect, how it is the very things that we fear the most, or, that have the greatest impact on us, are really holding within them the codes, the pathway, to our higher awareness. And I'm just curious if there's any connections there for you when we look at, what arises in these fields and what they connect to and what they open up for us.
I'm writing a book right now, and we're in the final edits of the book. It's releasing at the end of the year with Hay
Oh,
House. And just
exciting.
been recognizing, like, in my life as a singer, there was one particular instance where it was New Year's Eve. And in Europe, New Year's Eve is a very festive time for music. And I got a call at 10:30 in the morning on New Year's Eve that the leading soprano had to cancel. Could I jump in?
Whoa.
So, and I was known for being the jump-in queen. Like, that was something I knew how to do, and I trusted myself. But this particular instance was on the stage of the Munich Philharmonic, and I had to sing 4 arias, and there was no time. Basically, had to get myself together and practice and make sure I had everything in place, and then gather my clothes and everything, go down to the concert hall. And realizing in that moment, I mean, now I would put it in a whole different terminology, but I remember standing on the stage of the Munich Philharmonic and just knowing, one of the mottos that has been very prevalent in my life has been, jump and the net will appear. Right. And so I remember having a bodily felt sensation of standing on that stage, sold out, 3,000 seat house, full, and just going, you need to be completely present and open your human instrument and just open. And there's this kind of trust, I think, this kind of deep inner knowing when you activate chakras 8 and 9, your life and your soul purpose, and there's no time to have the question mark on your back. It's like we're in it, we're gliding, we're sailing. There's a communication happening that's so beyond this, right? And I remember now, if I would describe that to you, I would say that chakras 8 and 9 were fully open, and 9, the soul purpose, became at that moment reflecting itself down to chakra 10, which is your legacy, your deeply grounding, rooting chakra. That everything was in combination of what I was really here to do, and the life and the soul purpose, and that connection to something that's so much bigger than us, that we are a part of universal intelligence, however you want to name it. If I could have described it then, and I didn't have the words, the vocabulary at that point in time to describe it like that, but I remember that feeling just as clear as if it happened yesterday, of this incredible passion and power and presence and love and trust. And this is something I think now that the crystal bowls, then it was my voice and using my voice as an instrument above a 100-piece orchestra and having to project that with no microphone.
Wow.
That's a whole other thing when you're singing classical music like that. But now I would say the bowls they open me to that place. And I watch them opening my students and my clients and their reports of how, when they're sharing it, the students with their clients, what's happening for people. It is that place of the absolute connection to all that is, to the divine, however we conceive that to be, and that we are a part of that universal consciousness, that universal intelligence, and we can receive from that at all times. Certainly, our chore is to turn the volume down here of this that just keeps chattering and limiting us, and really allow sound to be that thing, that medium that really strengthens us and connects us to us being a part of all that is.
Wow, I just received from you a very clear representation of divinity in action, of that full integration in that moment. And what I was experiencing is everything harmonizing and being able to bring it forward and out to others. And wow, what courage and bravery and all that I would imagine you've had to develop within yourself to allow for that connection to happen and to be stepping out in the way that you are now with everything that you're creating and sharing with us, and the passion. I can feel your passion. I can feel your love. I can feel your truth in that. And you can't deny that, when you feel that, the resonance of it, when that divine connection, when that is in sync, when it's connected and it's moving. And I feel that in all of the beautiful ways. I mean, to create a temple of singing bowls, I could imagine that people are able to go into this space to offer this to others. And I know my experience with being in service, once you touch that, once that's connected, you can't not be.
Mhm.
You want to share this. You want to be in connection with others. And what a beautiful reflection these bowls are continuously. I could imagine being in this space with you. I've not experienced it yet, but just being here in this now, I know everyone listening is feeling this and they're experiencing it. And to be with you in person, wow, with the connection that you have to the bowls and this connection that you have, I could feel it. I could feel your light and your truth in that. So thank you so much for being such a powerful and beautiful beacon, and to be sharing your wisdom, to be teaching transformational voice, to be showing us how to use our voice in this way. I mean, right now, my whole being's like, hey, I want to know. I want to go and learn how to use my voice in this way. So I can imagine how rewarding that is, because being able to have it reflected back to you from others too. Wow. Ooh,
I think it's important. It's very important that we understand, what I said at the beginning, that we are the crystalline vessel. And I think we tend in our cultures to put the power that we truly are outside of ourselves. We put it on another person or another thing or a title or a level we've achieved in our lives. And I think music has helped me to really understand it's not about any of that. And so to recognize that bowl or no bowl, I am a crystalline vessel. And when I think back to that experience standing on the stage of the Munich Philharmonic, I was the vessel. And in that moment, I knew that I had to open everything inside me to sing. I'm thinking in particular of Visi d'arte, which is the aria from Puccini from Tosca. Just that had to come out of me like that in such a quickened and expanded way. And whether I'm using a bowl or not using a bowl, I really want people to understand that they are the instrument and that each of us has our own vibrational signature. You have your imprint, I have my imprint. And that's always changing. So it's like you can't get used to going, okay, I'm this, or she's that. You have to have the ability to keep your eyes wide open and to really see in that moment. And I think, again, for me, that moment on that stage was just like, whoa, Jeralyn, like this is huge. And not only do you have to fill that hall, you got to allow your soul to move like that. And, you have no idea how you touch people. And also just when we align and we harmonize and we recognize, okay, I am the crystalline vessel and I am going to tune myself so that I'm in harmony and coherence, you affect people across the world. And I know that now to be true. And if we think about all of us are instruments in this huge cosmic orchestra, it's our responsibility and it's our opportunity to continually refine and tune ourselves. And if you think about, like, people always ask me, well, like, do the bowls, do they respond to cold or they respond to hot? And yes, they do. I mean, they're a living, breathing instrument. So they will play differently in every situation, every single day. So a set that I've put together that I think I know well, it will play different every single day. And that's the same as we are. So we want to have this kind of, okay, let me put this in a box and this is how it always is. No. And I think that's what I've learned so deeply now, having a life in music, living and loving and losing my son, to know that he's there. He's a part of me. Here he is. He's always sitting on my computer. He's embedded in my heart, right? And so that, again, as this instrument with our unique vibrational signatures, it's up to us to just keep coming closer and closer to the true essence that we are. And just letting go of story, letting go of limited beliefs, letting go of judgments, and allowing sound vibration or music to be the thing that quickens us, that purifies us, that brings us home, and to be aware and open and grounded to the fact that that's going to change every single moment and every single day. And so it's up to us, being quartz-like in nature, to find this kind of stability, to find this kind of steadiness, and then to allow that to continue to expand.
Oh, it's so interesting. As you're speaking this, I'm really being taken deeper and deeper and deeper into myself. And I feel this question arising around all of those that are here listening, all of those that will be engaging going forward even. Like, well, what if they feel that on a deep level? And no, I mean, at some level, we all know we're here for a purpose. Right. And a lot of times people are asking, well, how do I know this purpose? And what I'm hearing from you is it's this surrender, this continuous refinement of ourselves. So what message would you have for those that are being called out, that are being called into action right now for this time? And one, I'm hearing that, being with sound, and sound is everywhere in my experience, from being able to be in the silence. I hear a lot in the silence, but with the crystalline bowls and this opportunity we have to come back in to that resonance, back into that harmonic, what message would you give for this time for those that are being called forward?
I think it's important that, once again, that we find a sense of grounding. I mean, this is crucial, so that we find a way that we ground ourselves, whether it just means connecting to the earth, whether it means just doing heel strikes. Sometimes I'll just do push-ups or jumping jacks, or I'll obviously yoga in sacred geometrical poses, but that we find things that really ground us, so that then, and I'm going to talk in terms of music, it would be like a chord. There's the root of the chord, there's the middle of the chord, and there's the upper part of the chord, right? So we're talking about finding a sense of grounding so that we can always be stable and that we can feel ourselves to be this unwavering presence no matter what is going on around us. And there is so much going on around each of us now. And then we want to find this place in our center where we can connect to that power of 1,000 suns. We talk about the solar plexus as having this energy of 1,000 suns in our belly. And then this expansiveness. Often people will say to me, well, how can I open my third eye with sound? And that's a big thing for people to have this kind of psychedelic experience or this very expansive experience. And I want to say that when we combine it, as we do in music, with a chord, and there's a grounding component, a centering component, and then there's the expansive component, then I can repeat that. Then the experience becomes for me sustainable. So that what I've seen in my own self by working with the bowls really over the last 15 years is that this growth that we're talking about, this expansiveness, just becomes a natural expression of who we are. So for those of you who are feeling like you're awakening and there's things opening in you, you want to make sure you find a way to ground, a way to come in your center. And that may be, as you said, it may be with stillness. I mean, there are times where there is so much happening inside me, I can't speak a word. I just have to sit in the silence. And it's so beautiful what begins to reveal. And I think, again, going back to that feeling I had having to jump into that night at the Munich Philharmonic, there was this kind of pristine presence of, okay, this is who I am. This is what I am here for. I do not have time to question it. I do not have time to feel insecure about it. I do not have time to judge it, to anything. I need to just be. And so it's a call, I think, for all of us to land in that deeper presence of who we truly are, and to make sure, again, in terms of music, that it's a chord that's grounded, centered, and accelerated, low, medium, and high, that we integrate all those aspects of ourselves, because obviously the deeper we ground, the higher we can go. The higher we go without grounding, we can't sustain it. And I just remember at the beginning, like, medical doctors said to me, why don't we put you on antidepressants? And not anything against medicines, but instinctively I knew that if I couldn't ground and use grief, or let's say use depression or anger as something that grounds us, then I would never be able to be healthy and whole and heal. And so it's an integration, as I would compare it to a musical chord. Think about your root, your center, and your top note, and how is that for you? And then to bring those into an integrated whole, I think, is our task right now. And to make sure that that integrated whole expresses your unique color, your unique tone. Because if you think about every human being's voice, nobody has the same voice. Nobody has that vibrational fingerprint that you do.
What a powerful recipe, I'm going to call it, that you've given us. I'm really feeling, as you spoke about these emotions like grief, and how you chose and knew, this knowing that you needed to ground into that it's not something that we need to get away from, right? Or find some cure for, but there's something in that. And as we look at emotions, and my understanding, we're evolving through our emotions, humanity, as a whole, we're evolving through them. So there's something really beautiful in this, like grounding into the emotion, being able to hold the center point, and also receiving from our eighth and our ninth. There's something beautiful that you're touching in on, and I feel like you've touched it several times during our time together here, of like, hey, right here, hey, It's right here. It's like you're giving the answer here of how to be the divine in motion, how to really be our authentic, true selves in motion. And I just want to take a moment just to take in all that's been shared here through the words, through the harmonic here. I'm just feeling even the bowls behind you that have been speaking to me the whole time. It's just so wonderful. Everything that's around us all the time. That's in support. So I'm really grateful for everything that you're speaking and everything you've given us just in this short period of time. Really given us what I don't know why it just keeps coming through as a recipe for really coming into who we are and this opportunity that we have to really cultivate all of our experience, all of those emotions, all of those moments where we can release the thought. And I just want to come briefly back to that time where you're on that stage with all of those seats. I didn't hear in you at all that there was like this thought that was there. It was like very clear, like, oh, this is the moment, open. And just taking that in, receiving that geometry is what I'm going to say here, or that blueprint or that template of that moment that you're offering each one of us to experience, to feel right now. That's powerful, to know that you were able to be there and you're sharing with us the recipe of how you got there. I mean, wow, what a gift. What a true gift that you're offering right now. So thank you. Thank you for that. And as we kind of close down the space and the time together, I would love to open here. I'm just feeling so much energy moving through my body, through my hands right now. I almost want to like paint with you, like paint in the cosmos and here on the earth. I mean, I'm just feeling so much magic, so much creativity, and this opportunity that sound, working with the crystal bowls, working with the voice and the wisdom that you carry, the wisdom that you're sharing with us. So thank you once again for this. And as we're closing down, just any last thoughts or anything that wants to be shared?
I think for me, this year has turned out to be it's a different kind of experience of the Munich Philharmonic, but suddenly I was infused with all these ideas that were coming through, and my son communicates very intensely with me through vibration. And the last half of 2021, he said, "Mom, we got to make a card deck." And I'm like, "Son, I'm busy." and Mom, we have to make a card deck. And so this is done, and I'm so excited about it. It's releasing on May 2nd. You can pre-order it now on Amazon. But the idea was that we created this interactive crystalline oracle deck. And so there's this beautiful little booklet, and it explains there's 48 bowls, and 4 of them are sets. So 4 of them have many harmonics, and 44 are single bowls. And each of the explanations has an alchemy message, and it has a breakdown like, well, what does that alchemy message mean for you? And then there's an alchemy mantra. And so I'm super, super, super excited. And I was inspired to create, each of the cards has a QR code on it. So you just hold it. It's a first of its kind. We are very, very, very excited. I have my help from the angelic realm, and I have learned to be incredibly grateful and to understand again that that's really our soul purpose, and it is to be like that. Yeah. Dylan, my son, being the bridge from the heavens to this earthly plane. So there's the QR code, and you put your phone on it and leads you to the soundbite, so that it can really be an interactive experience for everybody. So that the goal was that this is one of my favorite cards. This is charcoal, and the charcoal is about cleansing, clearing. And the art is done by Suzanne Bourne. It's incredibly beautiful. So there's crystals in there, there's original watercolors, photographs, and sacred geometry. And the idea is that it should be an experience for you of an integrative sound healing experience. So that was one vision that came through this year. We'll be releasing May 2nd, and they're pre-orderable on Amazon. And then the book will be coming out at the end of the year. And, there suddenly I was sitting and having 2 contracts with Hay House, which is a publishing company that I've read their books for years, for years and years and years. And I think we can't ever imagine what things are possible for us. And as I said earlier, like when I got the news that my son had passed, it was like, no, not my life, not my beautiful child. No, like just no. And it's a fact. And we see it in the news every day. And many of you experience all kinds of loss and despair and surprises in our lives that we go, okay, I'm done. And I was teasing with my mom last night because I had one moment where I just thought, I can't go on. And I was considering leaving. And I called my mother in that moment of despair, and she's 5'3", 127 pounds. And she said to me, if you take your life, I'll kill you first. And it was so sobering to me. And it was just like, okay, Jeralyn, there is no time for self-pity. There is no time for victimhood. It was the essence of that jump in. Like, here you are, and you're on this huge stage, and there's 3,000 people, and they've all paid for their tickets, and you need to deliver, whether you're the jump in or the star soprano. You need to deliver. And it's like, for each of us, what is that responsibility that we have been called to live in this lifetime? And it's not up to us to determine if it's good enough. It's not about that. We need to live it. So it's, I think, a call for all of us to keep moving forward with those impulses that guide you, and to listen and to say yes to yourself, even though, your doubts and your question marks are definitely there. It's just like, who gets the stronger voice? Is it this? Or is it the voice of your heart or the voice of your gut? That wisdom. And I think mostly what I would say and share with people is tune into when you are quiet, when you are feeling in harmony, and if you're not, find that space, and you can even just go. And as soon as I start to hum, I feel everything activate. I feel the crystalline structure that we've talked about. I feel that activate in me. And as soon as I hum, I'm working with my personal vibrational frequency, and suddenly I'm still inside. I'm creating that hum, but I'm still inside. And I come into that place of, this is the truth of who I am in this moment right now. And this is the one that needs to be embodied, walked as, fully lived. And I think that's my passionate cry to everybody listening, is to give yourself permission to find that, and then to live it without the question marks. We all have them. But what happens when we jump in? The net really does appear. It does.
Oh, what a beautiful message. I am like, wow, I feel motivated. I feel inspired. I'm feeling this just full on passion rising in me, and with so many here that are being called forward. And this invitation that you're offering to do it, to take that step, to allow those question marks to turn into what I would say the ground for you to step out on. Wow, how beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that message. And, moving today and feeling all of this passion, this creativity, I feel empowered right now. I feel very much like, wow, we have everything that we need, and that we are supported by so much more than what we may realize. And your story of your son is such a beautiful inspiration and an opportunity for each one of us to look at the losses, the things that are shifting in our lives, and be able to see the potential in them, to see what's really there. What is it that is moving us or supporting us from here? So taking all of that with us, what a gift to be here in this now, in this moment where we're looking at crystalline sound as this medicine. I definitely felt the medicine of the crystalline sound and this journey we've been on with you today. So much, so many blessings on all that you're creating. This deck is incredible. What an idea. I'm like, oh, we need this deck just to be able to be with that mantra, to be with those sounds. I mean, to have the mantra with the sound, even that we could just tap right into that right there in that moment. Like the depth of that. I can really also see your own journey through sound, and the depth within what I would say even consciousness, as the crystalline beings that we are, how far you've gone. So thank you once again for your wisdom and for being here with us today. Just sending everyone away with a deep, big hug, and wishing you all the most beautiful, creative, and inspirational day, moment, life, journey ahead. All right. Bye for now. Oh, beautiful hearts, let's take a moment here to breathe into yet another powerful message from our Divinity in Action alchemical movement. I hope you found the teaching shared in this episode to be enlightening and empowering. Also, that you will take space for yourself to work with what was offered for your discovery and growth. Once again, I invite you to unlock your divinity through the wisdom of our speakers and to harness this beautiful energy to your benefit that will increase abundance, clarity, and freedom in every aspect of your life. By experiencing divinity in action, we will break free from past programming and conditioning and fully embody our true selves.